Welcome to Rice TVX and the newest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. Today, I am joined by the one and only crypto minimalist, Ming the Merciless of crypto, the one and only Tone Vays. Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me. We're going to get started here in just moments. And as always, before we begin today's live stream, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX who make it possible to bring this content to you. Shout out to Monarch Wallet and Presearch. And as always, you can find information for every sponsor in every video description, so be sure to check them out. And real quick, a channel promo, and then we're going to get into today's interview, getting situated. Again, today I am joined by Mr. Tone Vays. So here we go with the channel promo, and then we're going to get things rolling. Before we get into it, take time to visit my website at ricetvx.com. There you can sign up for my mailing list so you can stay up to date on all things Rice. Once you've signed up for my mailing list, you will find links for my channels and socials towards the top of the website. Make sure you are subscribed to both of my YouTube channels, Rice Against the Grain and Rice TVX. If you want to support my work directly, as well as get early access, exclusive content for both channels, plus more, join my Patreon. All right, we're going to go ahead and get things going. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in for today's live stream. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get this thing rolling and pull in the guest of honor. I am joined by Mr. Tone Vays. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, Rice. How are you, man? Oh, man, we've been talking about doing the stream for years. And
I know.
Finally, you got me because we keep running into each other at conferences.
Yeah, no, we keep seeing each other at conferences. We've talked about doing this, like you said, for years. It's a combination of both of our travel schedules. And then when I remember to come back to it, it's just one of these circle back around things. And we finally made it happen. And again, man, I'm appreciative of your time. And I thank you for joining me today, man.
Cool.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. We'll have links down below for everything that I'm going to be screen sharing, which will include your website. We also have your YouTube channel for anybody who may be unfamiliar with you. And hopefully most of the people watching should know who you are as a crypto OG. I mean, you've been in the space for quite some time, my friend, and you've had some pretty interesting opinions. Before we begin kind of getting into things, one of the things that I wanted to mention that many people may not know, and I've asked you this personally, is I know that you were in the financial world. You had worked looking at your bio, you had worked over at Bears and Stearns and JP Morgan's, and you witnessed the 2008 financial crash. But prior to that, you were a high school teacher?
Yeah, I started as a high school teacher for 1 year, but I really did not like that profession.
I could tell because you're not doing it.
Yeah. So I left that after a year, and that's when I went to graduate school and got that degree in financial engineering, which is the math and the programming behind the finance. And that's what got me the Wall Street job. It wasn't easy because I didn't have any Wall Street experience. So after getting the degree in quantitative finance, is another way of calling it, I was like a college professor for a little bit, teaching all the same stuff, math, computer science a little bit, and some business, until I got that job. And the skill set that got me the Wall Street job was the ability to do SQL, the ability to write stored procedures, the ability to know databases. It's SQL is That's the query language. Knowing some of that, knowing Excel. If you know Excel real well and you know how to, write a store procedure and how to export data from a database, if you have those two skill sets, some Python, you're good to go. Math background, computer science background will get you that job in finance. You don't even have to know finance all that well, because they assume if you're smart enough to, know SQL and know programming, and you passed a bunch of math courses and you took some science, they'll teach you the finance within a few months. That's the easiest part. So that's started on Wall Street. Was coding risk models. Always wanted to be a trader. I eventually quit in 2015. And I've been in the Bitcoin world for almost a decade now. So it's might be time to retire soon and move on to something else.
And don't be saying that, but what made you go from Wall Street to getting into crypto? What was the main catalyst for that jump?
That's the thing. I didn't quit Wall Street to go into crypto. I quit Wall Street to be a trader. That was the thing. So with me, I'm a pretty risk-averse person. I don't randomly do stuff. I always need multiple reasons to do something. So I didn't quit my job with a single plan. I quit my job with like 5 backup plans, thinking 1 or 2 are going to succeed out of the 5. Just like anytime I travel, when people are like, oh, Tone, why did you go to this country? Well, there's never one reason. There's multiple reasons. Usually I want to get a speaking gig, so I have something to do. It's a country I really want to go to. Maybe it's on my route of travel. If I'm going from US to Dubai, and if I have something going on in, say, Portugal, yeah, that's a good layover in between. What do I have there? I know I've been to Portugal. Great. Is there a conference going on I can speak at? Great. Is someone inviting me that I want to meet? Great. Is there a meeting? So there's always like multiple reasons. So when I quit Wall Street, my number one priority was not to work for anyone. And my main way of making money was going to be just a trader. You wake up in the morning, you wake up like 7, 8 a.m., you do a bunch of research, stock market opens at 9:30, then you start your trading day. So that was the main reason. I just always wanted to be a trader. And trading, during meetings, on your cell phone under the table was not exactly ideal. In fact, my last Wall Street job, so I worked at 4 Wall Street places. First was Bear Stearns, that collapsed in 2008.
Right.
Then it was JP Morgan. Then it was a company called MSCI. They're pretty big. If you're in the finance world, you know of them. But all those 3 companies were very big and very corporate. And in my world of that job, I had a lot of access to proprietary hedge fund positions. So I was very restricted from doing any kind of trading. So I actually took a lower salary in my 4th and final Wall Street job in the same space of building risk models. But these risk models were different. Unlike the first 3 companies where I did the same job at, we would acquire hedge fund data and we would process it. So I actually had access to a lot of hedge funds positions. That prevented me from trading.
Right.
Too much insider information. But in that last job, we were building risk models that we would lease or provide to the client. So in my last job, I did not have any proprietary hedge fund position data. And that's why my last job had 0 trading restrictions. And I took a lower salary for that job because now I can trade freely and not worry about, getting arrested by the SEC if I took out a trade.
Right.
So, and I just wanted to do that on my own. So that was my primary reason. But trading is very dangerous. I had a good confidence I was going to succeed, but who knows? Things change. So at the same time, I also started, I opened a physical business in New Jersey. I was an investor in. That turned out to be a horrible investment. I wish I put that money into Bitcoin instead. And also, Bitcoin was interesting to me. I already started writing at Cointelegraph, a lot of articles. And I also started getting into social media. I opened my Twitter account. I started traveling and speaking because I really enjoyed that as well. I started doing that before quit my job. And I thought that maybe that could be something, my investments, including Bitcoin, I thought that could be something. It was still risky at the time, but it turns out that the one I actually enjoyed the most was traveling and speaking. So even though I did full-time trading from early 2015 all the way to 2017, in 2017, during that bull market in Bitcoin, I really ramped up the traveling and trading. And so now how I pay my bills, traveling and speaking. I know the more popular you get, the more your attention is, the more people ask you questions, your attention is, in a way, it's hard to concentrate on trade. I thought, hey, you know what? I have experience trading. I've been doing it for 15 years now. Why don't I, as I travel, why don't I start teaching people how to trade? Maybe that would be interesting to people. People are saying Tone's mic is bad.
No, I think it's picking up an echo for whatever. I'm not sure if your speaker's close to your mic.
Let me check something.
Your audio is great. It's just picking up my voice a little bit, so it's kind of a slight echo, which I don't hear right now.
I just switched microphones. Is this better?
Let's see. I don't hear myself as much.
Okay.
So yeah, this might be better. I mean, it sounded good before. It was just the speaker seemed to be, I don't know if it was just picking up the microphone or the microphone was picking up the speaker. It was just a slight little thing there. So, no, I appreciate you explaining all that, man, and kind of giving a little insight.
Yeah. So anyway, so to wrap that up, so I started traveling and teaching people how to trade instead of full-time trading myself, and it fulfilled everything I wanted. Like I didn't want to have a boss. I wanted to travel a little bit. I never really traveled when I was younger. So traveling and speaking and just talking about Bitcoin, talking about trading was very, very satisfying. And I kind of ran with that. Started my YouTube channel. That was becoming more popular. So I kind of ran with that. And then I started organizing my own conferences, Unconfiscatable and Financial Summit. You see the Unconfiscatable behind me. So I'm doing that for now. But this online business was very, very good in 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic. Everyone's home. Everyone wants to be a trader now. Business has not been going so great in 2022 with this global recession. I'm still going to stick to the conferences. I'm not doing much public speaking anymore. I haven't spoken at any conferences this year. I'll probably speak at like 2 or 3, which is different than 20 plus.
Right.
And we'll see how the conferences do, because I am considering just going back to trading. But if I go back to trading, I'm going to significantly cut back on my social media. I'm not going to be doing these interviews. I'm not going to be streaming every day. I'm going to concentrate on my positions. That becomes the most important thing. So we'll see. It's a tough balance. And you always have to evolve. Every time I think I have the perfect business model that's going to make me money over and over, it works for a year or two, and then you got to adapt.
No, I totally feel you with that, man. And there's definitely been a lot of changes in the space, so I can understand kind of like where you're coming from with like shifting what you're doing. And I know like if you really want to be an effective trader, you need to be paying attention to the markets, and doing interviews and speaking at conferences isn't conducive if you're a full-time trader, because it does take away time from your obsessive chart looking. I mean, because that's obviously what it requires is like obsessively looking at charts, making sure that you're making the right moves, making sure you're keeping the emotion out of it. One more question I want to ask you before we get into any chart stuff was, a lot of people know you as a Bitcoin maximalist, and you kind of have been referring yourself as a crypto minimalist. Can you explain crypto minimalist, and are there any other cryptocurrencies aside from Bitcoin that you don't think are scams?
Sure. It's interesting how you phrased that second question. Let me start with that one first. Are there cryptocurrencies that I don't think are scams? The answer is yes. But just because something is not a scam doesn't mean it's a good idea, and it doesn't mean it's a good investment. So we have to separate the two. There are 2,000 stocks in a Russell 2000, 5,000 stocks in a Wilshire 5000 index. And if you add pink sheets, which are stocks that are considered penny stocks, the stuff that Jordan Belfort used to do before he went to prison, the
Right.
Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, now we're talking tens of thousands of stocks. I mean, most of them are not scams, but that doesn't mean they're good investments. So yes, there are several cryptocurrencies. I'm not going to say many. I would say maybe 5% of cryptocurrencies are not scams, but it doesn't mean that they're good investments. We can talk about the more popular non-scammy cryptocurrencies. These are your Litecoins, your Moneros, some of these fairly launched coins without an ICO, without handing out coins to influencers, without these kinds of gimmicks, and they're not scams. But it doesn't mean they're good ideas, and it doesn't mean they're good investments. And my view is that over time, Bitcoin will continue to separate from them. So the all-time high that Litecoin made versus Bitcoin was a long time ago. The all-time high that Ethereum made versus Bitcoin was actually later. The all-time high that the Binance token did versus Bitcoin was very, very recent. And I don't think these all-time highs are going to be broken. Now, will new altcoins come up like into the market and make their all-time high against Bitcoin? Sure. But these older ones, because they are competing with each other. Ethereum is competing with Solana and the Binance Smart Chain,
Cardano and all the different layer one solutions.
And Tron is coming out to compete with them, right? So they have a lot of competition. So to me, I treat all of these other tokens, the ICO tokens. If your token had an ICO or whatever they call it, an exchange traded offering, whatever it is, whatever the latest buzzword to replace the word ICO, which
initial
is
DEX offering, initial exchange offering. It just it keep changing it up.
If you had some kind of an offering, even if it had like an airdrop, right? If you had an offering, then I treat your project more like a traditional company, a centralized traditional company with a CEO, with a board of directors, with a vision. I don't treat you as decentralized. I don't treat Ethereum as decentralized. To me, Ethereum is in closer competition with Amazon and AWS, Amazon Web Services, on which most Ethereum nodes actually run.
Most crypto nodes, not just Ethereum, but most crypto nodes, yeah.
So but
we're decentralized.
Right. So to me, Ethereum is actually in competition with Amazon Web Services, part of their business, and they're not in competition with Bitcoin. It's a completely different business model. It's a completely different proposition. It doesn't necessarily mean that Ethereum has to fail. Ethereum could outcompete Jeff Bezos, who's not even there anymore, but Jeff Bezos and Amazon Web Services. For what Amazon Web Services do, it is possible. But Ethereum is going to become more centralized over time. And the removal of mining proves that they're actually moving in the direction of centralization, not in the direction of decentralization, as I've always stated. So to me, Ethereum is just not interesting. It's not interesting because it's not a decentralized protocol that's going to revolutionize money itself and financial technology. To me, it's just another, company for web services, for crypto services. And eventually, it's very, very likely that Bitcoin side chains like Liquid, like RGB, maybe Rootstock, would outcompete Ethereum for what Ethereum does. But the point is, Ethereum has a lot of competition. Bitcoin has no competition. It has no, just like the internet does not have competition for what the internet does. Google has competition, not very good competition, but it has competition. Amazon has competition. Again, not great competition, but it has it. Internet does not have competition. Now, is the easy money made? Like, we never had a chance to invest in the internet itself. We had to pick and choose winners and losers that utilize the internet. So when you are trading or investing in other cryptos, you are selecting winners and losers. And yes, some of them are going to perform better than Bitcoin on a short-term basis, but the majority will not if you do not exit in time. So I am at least smart enough to know that I don't know which 1 or 2% of these other crypto projects are going to succeed. So I'm staying away from all of them because unlike the 1990s, I now have a chance to profit directly from the internet revolution itself, which is Bitcoin. Now, as far as the non-scammy tokens, like the Litecoins and the Moneros of the world, they will eventually not be able to compete with Bitcoin either, for different reasons. Litecoin doesn't need to scale Bitcoin because the Lightning Network is progressing. If the Lightning Network was not succeeding, we can make an argument that Bitcoin needs another token to scale. But as long as the Lightning Network is progressing, Litecoin is irrelevant to scale Bitcoin. And this is something I actually needed to understand when it came to gold and silver. I didn't realize this till around 2016, when thanks to understanding Bitcoin very well and Litecoin, and Saifedean's first book, The Bitcoin Standard, actually helped with this. I realized that back in the day, the reason why silver has been money for 5,000 years is because gold needed a micropayment. Before the current digital age, 1 gram of gold would buy you too much. Like, you couldn't make your coffee payment. You couldn't make small, tiny payments.
Right.
And
It's complementary is the way I look at it.
Correct. But
like Litecoin is complementary to Bitcoin. It doesn't replace Bitcoin, but it complements it.
yes, unless the technology allows the better asset to scale to micropayments. And this is why the gold-silver ratio has been exploding in gold's favor. This is why gold is breaking to a new all-time high, and Litecoin and silver is still 50% below its all-time high. And that's because over the last 40, 50 years, more and more people are coming to the realization that silver can never be money again, because the digital age would allow gold to scale to micropayments. The days of 200 years ago, when you needed Litecoin for micropayments, no longer exist. If a country does go back to a gold standard, you're not going to be carrying grams of gold in your pocket. It's going to be a digital currency backed by gold. Hence, silver has no reason to be money again. And Litecoin has the same problem. In addition, because Litecoin is also mineable, you have to realize that in order for mining of Litecoin to progress, the value of Litecoin has to more than double every 4 years. And when it doesn't, the mining of Litecoin is gonna, people are not gonna buy new miners. So the mining hash rate is gonna keep going down. Also, because no one really needs Litecoin, where is the investment in research and development of the mining network in Litecoin? This is why Doge mining collapsed back in the 2018 in the bear market. Just mining Doge became a negative proposition. And that's why the developers of Doge, the half a developer of Doge, whatever they had, simply altered the algorithm to allow Doge mining to now be merged mined with Litecoin. You mine Litecoin, you can earn Doge if you like. Eventually,
was that 2018 though? I thought it was like somewhere around like 2015, 2016.
It might have been earlier. I don't remember.
But it looked like the Doge chain was under the possibility of a 51% attack, and to try to prevent that, in addition, the merge mining was because Dogecoin is a code fork of Litecoin, which is a code fork of Bitcoin.
Correct. So I don't remember which bear market did it, but the price of Doge just went so low and it was so unprofitable to mine that nobody did. Hence, it was too easy to just not 51% attack, 90% attack.
Right.
And that's why they did it. And Litecoin is going to have the same exact problem in the future. So because it will just be too unprofitable to mine because of the halving. As the price of Litecoin doesn't advance, why would anybody mine as these miners, come offline? So Litecoin will also need to be merge mined with a stronger coin. And it'll probably be Bitcoin. I would have said Ethereum, but Ethereum dropped script mining. So it'll probably be Bitcoin. And now people are going to say, well, wait, Tone, that's impossible because Litecoin uses script mining and Bitcoin uses SHA-256. And my answer to that is yes, but the 1.5 developers of Litecoin will just do it, right? It'll just hard fork. Like, there's nobody stopping it.
Right.
And this is what I mean about how these tokens are significantly more centralized. In the case of Monero's value proposition is privacy. And yes, Bitcoin on chain does not have the kind of privacy Monero does. That is both a benefit and a detriment to Bitcoin. There are advantages that come with not being too private. One of the main advantages to Bitcoin not being too private is that you know a lot more what's going on under the hood, right? Like we can look at it from the US government perspective, right? Like if we know exactly what the US government spends money on, how all of our tax revenue is being spent, it's a lot more transparent. So we know what's going on. At the same time, the government doesn't like that because then they can't, finance certain wars and certain other, projects, right?
Right.
So there's good and bad that comes with transparency. However, Bitcoin does have the ability to make private transactions. If you like the liquid sidechain without any kind of effect on Bitcoin's price, you can move your Bitcoin into the liquid Bitcoin sidechain, and all those transactions are as private as Monero's. Now, the Monero people will argue that, yeah, but that's not as decentralized as Bitcoin, and as Monero.
Right.
And my argument would be, yeah, but if decentralization mattered to you more than privacy, you would be using Bitcoin to begin with, right? So what's more important? Is
there you go.
Privacy more important or decentralization more important? If decentralization matters, Monero is not as decentralized as Bitcoin itself. So if privacy matters, and you're already giving up decentralization for privacy, you can give up a little more decentralization and make those private transactions in the liquid sidechain, and then exit back into Bitcoin when you need decentralization. And you can do all of this without the currency risk of losing money and speculating on the value of Monero fluctuating against Bitcoin. So this is why I can make an argument for every single crypto project as to why over time, they, on a long-term scale, they just will not overtake Bitcoin. But on a short-term scale, sure, you can trade them, you can profit, as long as you know where eventually that wealth has to sit and how to protect it.
Well said, man. I appreciate you explaining that. And, I did want to go over some chart information, but after talking, and because there's more questions that I want to ask you with what you had said, if people want to check out your chart information, you do videos quite frequently. You did one this morning. So if people want to check out what you have as far as your chart readings and where you think the markets are going to go, if you guys aren't already subscribed to Tone's channel, go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Check out the live streams. Check out his charting information, trading Bitcoin with Tone Vays. But again, man, I wanted to go that direction, but you do it all the time. There's no point in rehashing stuff that you just talked about this morning. So you brought up a few points that I would like to get your opinion on, because I'm not the most educated individual when it comes to cryptocurrency, but I've come a little ways since I've gotten involved. And when I first got my toes wet with cryptocurrency, it was early 2017, and I got to experience what took place in August, I think, of 2017 with the hash wars, the issue that took place with the block size debate between the core developers that ultimately led into the split of Bitcoin Cash, which led into the splintering of hard forks. I've heard a lot of people talk about the idea of improving Bitcoin on chain to the point that we wouldn't need something like the Lightning Network. What are your thoughts on just that statement alone?
Oh, not sure what happened to my camera there for a second.
No, you're cool. Yeah, you were kind of like,
zoo. Yeah, my zoom thing went out.
No, you got it center. It looks good.
All right, we're set now. So,
because I know you know the big block debate. I know that you've seen it from all different perspectives. You worked with the Magical Crypto Friends. You're friends with Charlie Lee, or you know the guys from Magical Crypto Friends. You know Charlie Lee. You know all the different people. You've met Roger. So you got an idea of the inside information of why this split took place, why Roger Ver went from Bitcoin Jesus to Bitcoin Judas with not really changing his narrative.
Yeah, so let me try to sum it up real quick. So yes, there were multiple different ways to scale Bitcoin to accommodate more payments. And in the beginning, like everything starts out as a science experiment, and you see what works and what doesn't. So even in the very early days of this debate, I had myself, well, I don't know what the better path is. Maybe it is better to just increase the block size to go to 2 megabytes. And that idea was explored, and it came fairly obvious and quickly that there are two major problems with this idea. There are many problems today, but there's two major problems. One of the problems with making the block size bigger is the fact that you start to eat away at Bitcoin's decentralization very, very slowly. The most important thing is decentralization, is trust that the Bitcoin network is trustless. It's the number one priority. You see right above me, it says unconfiscatable. What makes Bitcoin unconfiscatable? It's the most important feature of Bitcoin. I separate unconfiscatability from censorship resistance. Censorship resistance is the ability to send it anywhere and no one can stop you. It may not always get there quickly, may not always get there cheaply, it may not always get there privately, but it will get there. That's censorship resistance. Unconfiscatability means no one can confiscate your wealth, which is something humans have never had in history. More important. So,
True.
And these two properties start to get slowly endangered with a bigger block size. Because in order to achieve that, you have to hard fork Bitcoin. And this brings us the second problem. Hard forking Bitcoin you forcing everyone to update the protocol. And not only is that not possible, also by doing it once, you set a very dangerous precedent that you can do it again, again, and again. Ethereum is proving this. Monero has proved it many, many times. You're proving that it can be done. And if it can be done once, it can be done again, again, and again. And that's where the dangers of decentralization come in. So avoiding hard forks at all costs is important. Now, in order to get SegWit in, which allowed us to soft fork Bitcoin, it also set a slightly dangerous precedent that the users can force a change onto the network, which in a way, not ideal either, because that creates, this voting thing where the majority can push something in.
Mob rules.
But it's less dangerous than a hard fork. So these two problems were just they no longer became debatable, but for some reason they had to be debated. Now they had to be debated for two reasons. One, certain people that once they make up their mind, they refuse to admit their mistakes and they refuse to change it, which is a mentality thing, right? This is this is notorious in politicians. No matter how wrong a politician is, he will never admit his mistake, right? Like the U.S. government will never admit that going into Iraq was a mistake, right? Ever, and many other things. No politician will do that because they could be criminally liable. They'll immediately get unelected. All these things, right? So one problem is people admitting that they were wrong is very, very hard. Like to this day, many people still haven't admitted they were wrong. And the other problem is that we don't know who's really a bad actor and who's a good actor, right? Like we just don't know.
Right.
We don't know, let's say, the people over at another protocol that forked off of Bcash. I don't want to say it because I really don't want to deal with the lawsuit.
No, I get you. I think we know who you're talking about.
And we don't know if these people are government agents or are they really crazy. Like, we just don't know, right? So same thing happens here. When people are pushing a narrative that is clearly wrong or bad, we don't know. Are these people just don't understand and we keep trying to educate them? Do they not admit their mistakes? Or do they know this and this is their job? Like they're actually getting paid to be malicious. And we may not know for a long, long time. And you'd be surprised how easy it is to compromise people. We can go back to the situation, right? Like, again, we don't know how many politicians are compromised, and they will never admit it because they're compromised, right? So this is the issue with Bitcoin. So you have to go with whatever makes the most sense with the people you have the strongest conviction that they are not compromised by agents.
Which, I mean, I've questioned that a lot. And I've also noticed a lot of the OG Bitcoiners who are like the libertarian minded, be your own bank kind of people. As soon as they got enough wealth, they were just kind of sitting back and comfortable, and they stopped fighting the good fight per se. You mentioned Bcash. So of all the forks, I like to use that one as the example. And I don't try to claim that Bitcoin is not the real Bitcoin or that Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin. I'm not one of those individuals. But the block size argument seems to make some point. Like Bitcoin Cash improving the block size seems like they could do things, micropayments, cheaper transactions, and not need something like the Lightning Network. And if you look at Bitcoin Cash as like a test net, it's kind of proven itself to where we could add those type of implementations on chain to Bitcoin, for example. But then the argument is, why not just use Bcash?
Not really, right? The reason why Bcash transactions are so cheap is because no one uses it, right? Like that's one of the reasons, right? There were so many of these crazy arguments. For example, when Roger Ver was standing up there and saying, well, it's so much cheaper to send a Bcash transaction. Well, one reason is, yeah, less people use it, but there was another reason. You have to realize that transactions are denominated in Bitcoin, right? So the value of one Satoshi is a certain amount of money. And the value of one Satoshi equivalent in Bcash, I call it the VAR, which is the smallest unit of Bcash. Satoshi is the smallest unit.
Instead of Satoshis, yeah, it's a bear. Okay, I like that.
VAR, VAR, VAR. The smallest unit of Bcash, right? But that smallest unit of Bcash is like 99% cheaper. And a transaction is denominated in the amount of VARs per byte. So you're already starting at a lower increment. So it's a really unfair comparison that people make. Yeah, I mean, if something works, if no one uses it, and that's why you're seeing the value of Bcash just continue to go down against Bitcoin, and that was my point. My point, even back then, was that over time, the market will, speak, and the free market will win with the right path. It's very, very rare that technology goes backwards, and hard forking Bitcoin to a bigger block would have been going backwards. It's not going forward in technology. The only thing I can think of in the world where technology went backwards, two now, was the Concorde airplane, which got stopped. That was a technology going backwards. We're now flying around the world slower. Hopefully something similar will come back. Now, they didn't remove it for potential safety reasons. At least that's what they said. I'm not sure. And the second technology going backwards is the shutdown of nuclear reactors for energy and the shutdown of fossil fuels to go back to coal. Now, they're saying they're shutting down fossil fuels to go back to renewable energy, but that's not what's actually happening. The better versions of fossil fuels are being shut down, and they're being replaced by, Germany's chopping down wood to heat their homes with wood, going back to the 1800s or prior, and they're shutting down their nuclear reactors. Now, we can make an argument as to why to shut down nuclear reactors, but it is a matter of technology going backwards. And that's very, very rare in human history, but it's happening. But that would have been the case in Bitcoin, doubling the block size, technology going backwards. Lightning is technology progressing and advancing.
And I like your explanation. I mean, I'm one of these people who's I'm not set in my ways, but I'm starting to feel like the argument of entities keeping Bitcoin limited on purpose so they can profit off of solutions like the Lightning Network versus improving on chain. I don't know enough about cryptography coding to really get a full understanding of how it could be detrimentally negative for Bitcoin if we did these things. So this is where I like to have these conversations, and I appreciate you being honest with your thoughts on it, because it's
profiting from Lightning is very overrated. You can't really profit much from Lightning unless you start building services utilizing Lightning. So So this is the thing, right? Like there are certain things. I try to make analogies to like traditional markets, right? When people say, "Oh, printing money caused all this inflation," I'm not going to say that's not true. Printing money helped create inflation, but it was not the biggest reason. The biggest reason for all the inflation that we're seeing in America and around the world was the shutdown of COVID of the supply chain. Now, that was the main reason. But yes, printing all the money certainly contributed. So when people say, well, these companies like Blockstream and others, they just want to profit from Lightning, I'm not going to say that is false, but they're profiting almost not, it's not a relevant profit.
Right. It's not like they're banking.
However,
I get what you're saying.
However, if Blockstream is one of the main builders of the Lightning protocol, other companies may hire their people as consultants for Lightning stuff. And yes, that could create profit for the company, but other people can also compete in the consulting space of how to utilize Lightning, right? So there's lots of competition there. So again, I don't want to say that they're not profiting from building Lightning, but their profit of building Lightning is grossly overblown as to how lucrative it actually is.
And that makes sense the way that you're explaining it. I mean, like a lot of this stuff, I have not tried to dig into like technicals to see like what is the profit ratio versus, but again, this is just one of these things that as a content creator, as somebody who likes to research things, like to consider myself a journalist, I try to look at things from as many different points of views. And especially when it comes to technology, I don't try to get too stuck on an idea because technology advances so much. I mean, I like to use music as a good example. Just over the past, just since the 1970s, of going from records to 8 tracks to cassettes to CDs to mini discs to MP3s to then streaming. So all of that has just been like creative destruction, kind of making the other parts more obsolete as the technology advances. And I feel like that would be the case too with crypto. Eventually the young cryptographers or even someone who's older, but a group of cryptographers are going to be inspired by all this stuff that's happening in the space. And I feel like we'll come out with something that will eventually make the technology of Bitcoin look antiquated, even though right now it is so much more superior than everything else. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Now, I want to be respectful of your time. I wanted to get your thoughts about central bank digital currencies, the launch of digital dollars, whatever they want to call it, and what's happening to the banking system and what's going on with the Federal Reserve with the interest rates, kind of like an overall global picture. What are your thoughts on everything that's happening now? I guess the first question I would ask you is, I know I asked you a series of questions right there. With where we are right now in the market, with Bitcoin being up over 50% for the year and the banking collapse beginning, it looks like, and kind of the markets being out of reality, do you feel like where we're at is very sustainable in the cryptocurrency markets, or do you feel like it's some manipulation is going on with the price action?
So I'm very, very bullish on Bitcoin. Let me do screen share real quick. I'll do like 5 minutes of charts and I'll talk about the overall situation.
Whenever you get it up, I got it.
That's my daily chart. The daily chart, we did start pulling back today. I anticipated we would start pulling back today. I thought we would start pulling back from a slightly higher price of maybe 31.5. But today was the day I anticipated a pullback because my indicator was going to get a red arrow today. It got an orange arrow the day before. It tells me that the red arrow is coming the next day. But unfortunately, the price wasn't high enough to print that red arrow. But today was going to be the day, and I was talking about this day for a while. But we're going to go to a slightly higher level. I'll look at the weekly and the monthly chart. So we're going to go backwards. So on a weekly scale, I still think we have room to go to the $34,000 area before a more sustained pullback in the fall. So I am looking for a slightly higher prices based on the weekly chart. But if I zoom out to the monthly chart, I am very, very bullish. And I've stated on my channels, ever since we broke 20,000, I've stated that I am as bullish as I've ever been on Bitcoin, and I've now been doing commentary on Bitcoin for about 8 years. We are in a halving cycle that usually starts the ramping up of the price. On-chain analytics have been amazing. The way the banks are having trouble right now is also perfect for Bitcoin to rally. And we already had our big bear market. From a TA perspective, we're also breaking these levels. What I don't know is, are we going to kind of slowly grind into the halving, which I'm expecting at the end of March, and then rally hard? Or are we going to rally hard before the halving and then pull down a little bit harder into the halving? So I think everything, all the moon, the stars, and the planets are all lining up for another Bitcoin bull market. And I'm actually amazed how many people are still bearish in Bitcoin right now.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions to you, is like, are we, do you feel like the bottom price is in around the 15.5, 15.6 range? And some people say that if the bottom is in, that we are technically out of a technical bear market. What are your thoughts? Like where are we at in a market? Like if we're in a traditional 4-year market cycle, which seems to be the case, where are we at in that cycle? It seems like we're still in a technical bear market.
No, I believe we're already in a bull market. So when Bitcoin broke above 20K, and then it pulled back to 20K and started rallying off of the more recent 20K low, once it started going to that 22, 23 area, I was quoted as saying we're probably never going below 20,000 again. So I'm not expecting us to go below 20,000. Now, while we were consolidating in that $16,000 range, I was not calling the end of the bear market. We could have easily gone to 14, 12, maybe even 9. But once we broke above 20, went to 25, pulled back to 20, and the way we reversed from that 20, and maybe I should just go back to screen share real quick one more time.
Whenever you get it up, I'll get it pulled up. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, because I mean, it seems like I don't know, man. It just seems like there's going to be a lot of things happening that's going to make things worse before things get better. It seems like the banking collapse is just the beginning of it. We got the potentiality of probably World War III. And I don't know how all these things will affect markets in general, everything, not just Bitcoin and crypto, but gold, silver, the traditional TradFi market, and everything.
Yeah, it's we will see. I think it'll all be good for Bitcoin. I find there are potential horrible black swans that can happen, but I give that a very low probability. But
another thing, real quick.
Let me just finish up on the price, and then we'll chat. So I can close the screen share. When we were consolidating at the low, I was not very bullish. Then we rallied hard. I was skeptically bullish. When we pulled back and bounced off of 20,000 right here, everything aligned for me. I was incredibly bullish. I anticipated a fall to 20K, and everything aligned for a reversal at 20K. We had a reversal hammer candle. My own indicator told me this is a reversal. We bounced off of 2 moving averages, and the moment we started rallying this weekend, Sunday the 12th and Saturday the 11th and Sunday the 12th, I was pretty damn convinced that the $15,000 low was in. And by the time Monday was ending, I was pretty convinced that the $20,000 low is in. And now I believe that we are in a bull market, and I'm not anticipating these lows. Is it possible? Of course, anything is possible. But I am currently 100% invested in a bullish position in Bitcoin, and that's what this chart shows. As I show my position on a scale of -100 to +100, with 0 being 100% cash, I'm 100% bullish in Bitcoin as of that Monday, the 14th of March, and I remain 100% bullish as of today.
Okay, I appreciate that. What I was going to ask you while you're looking at the chart information is we have the Litecoin halving taking place early August. And normally that does have an effect on like price action. Have you taken that in consideration, or are you just looking straight at charts?
I haven't taken that much into consideration. First of all, the Litecoin halving shouldn't affect the price of Bitcoin much. Now, will the Litecoin halving affect the price of Litecoin? Maybe. Whenever people talk about a coin a lot and it starts showing up on Twitter, there is some of this, interest and people are going to buy. But after the halving, I expect Litecoin prices to fall because I think I expect a lot of miners to start coming off the network. Litecoin will have
Buy
to
the rumor, sell the news kind of event.
more than double in price. Otherwise, a miner is not profitable. You see, Bitcoin, going back to fundamentals of Bitcoin, Bitcoin has miners of last resort. For example, if mining is no longer profitable by these companies, and they're now publicly traded companies like Riot and Bitfarms and Marathon and many others, if mining is no longer profitable for Bitcoin, these mining companies are going to shut down. But who's going to be mining Bitcoin? Well, I will, right? Because other people will, because Bitcoin is necessary to the world. And if Bitcoin is necessary to the world, you're going to mine Bitcoin at a loss because the Bitcoin going away is more dangerous for you. It's the same reason why you're streaming right now, right? You need the internet for your job, correct?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to survive without the internet. That's your wealth, right?
True.
But do you make money from running your internet node? No, you pay for your internet, right? You pay to use the internet. You don't get paid to secure the internet. You use it.
That'd
right?
be nice.
But in Bitcoin will be equally as important to people and to companies as the internet is. So if you're going to pay your internet bill to have your lifeblood, you're going to pay a mining bill. You're going to pay a slightly more electricity. You'll pay $100 a year in lost electricity to help protect the Bitcoin network and keep it decentralized. These will be the miners of last resort, even at a loss. Litecoin doesn't have these people. Litecoin is not important enough to have people mining it at a loss. And that is why the Litecoin network is in a lot greater danger to just collapsing the way Doge did. And if it wasn't for Elon Musk, Doge would be done.
You make some really good, valid points, man. And I appreciate you sharing them. I want to be respectful of your time. We're almost at the hour mark, but I still want to get your thoughts on like central bank digital currencies, what the Fed is doing with interest rates, where we're headed, because I think a lot of things seem to be correlated to the dollar, and people are paying attention to the Fed. So if the Fed were to like raise interest rates by 50 to 75 basis points early May or June, it probably would have a negative effect on the markets, because the markets are wanting the basically they want to stay out of reality and keep having the inflation put into the markets. So I mean, I know that Bitcoin is the antithesis to central bank digital currencies, but aside from that point, we see the adoption coming, we see it happening. Your overall thoughts on the macro climate with all that.
Yep. So I just had to open up a couple of tabs, and we are going to go back to screen share to talk about the Fed real quick. Because
we have the next FOMC meeting is going to be the 2nd and 3rd of May, with the 3rd being the announcement. And then after that, June 13th and 14th, then July 25th and 26th. Then there's a break until September.
Right. And it is anticipated that the Fed is going to raise the interest rate by another 25 basis points, which I did not really expect, but looks like they're going to do it. So first things first, do I agree that the interest rate should be where it is right now at approximately 5%? I see 465, but at approximately 5%. The answer is yes. But what I don't like is how quickly the Fed has raised the interest rate. That has created many, many problems. Now, the reason why the Fed had to raise the interest rate so quickly is because for the last 40 years, they have been dropping the interest rate too fast, and they have been keeping it low for too long. This is a disaster.
Yeah.
They dropped the interest rate at zero from 2009 all the way to 2015. That caused a lot of problems. Back here, the Fed was actually blamed for raising the interest rate too slowly during the boom of the 1990s and the tech sector, and they dropped it to, that was the year before, but after the crash of the tech sector, and they were dropped it too far in response to the dot-com crash. So the interest rate should have never been this low to begin with, and then the interest rate could have been even higher today without causing much damage. Now, the biggest problem is, of course, government's total public debt. Total public debt by government is exploding, and the government never pays the debt back. So all they do is take on bigger and bigger debts.
Yeah, they push it into the future.
And now that the interest rate is rising, all this debt is going to be remonetized at a higher interest rate. And that's going to cause the public debt of 31 trillion to go to 50 trillion in the blink of an eye, because 0% is very different than 5%. 5% on 30 trillion is actually a lot of money.
Yeah.
And plus more deficits. So that is creating, now this is the Fed balance sheet. That doesn't really matter all that much to me, but it's the public debt. So I thought that this was going to be the biggest problem. However, as we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, them raising the rate this quickly caused a lot of havoc in the private banking sector as well. So the Fed raising rates this quickly is causing more problems than even I have anticipated. Now, I am one of the more controversial people that thinks that the interest rate has no effect on the stock market. And we can see that the Fed did start raising the interest rate in January 2022, and we have had problems in the stock market since 2022, but we've already recovered 50% of those losses. And I think the stock market is going to be at a new all-time high sometime next year, meaning that the rise in interest rate doesn't necessarily lead to catastrophic stock market. And I think that the Fed funds rate has very little effect on Bitcoin as well. I think Bitcoin has its own dynamic and its own cycles, but I do believe that the stock market and Bitcoin are kind of correlated. When the stock market rises, Bitcoin will rise for multiple reasons. When the stock market rises, that means the economy is doing well, companies are doing well, people have lots of jobs, people are going to get raises because their companies are making more money because the stock is doing well of that company. Everything is correlated. And the wealthier the economy, the wealthier the people, the more they can speculate on things like Bitcoin. If there's a catastrophic crash like 2008 and everyone is losing their job and banks don't lend to small businesses and small businesses don't have credit and small businesses collapse, people lose their jobs, the kids need food, the kids need medicine, and if you have managed to save some Bitcoin and your kid has to go to the hospital, you're going to sell that Bitcoin to save the life of your child. So right. When there is a major catastrophe and the stock market crashes, Bitcoin will also suffer because people will sell what they have of value. So good economic times do help Bitcoin. Now, another environment that helps Bitcoin a lot is fear. If people are scared that their money is going to get confiscated at the bank, if people are scared that they're not going to have access to their money at the bank, if people are scared that, a neighbor is going to invade your country with tanks, you're going to put that wealth into something that you can protect. And Bitcoin is one of the best assets you can do for that purpose. So, and we're in that time of fear. We're not at a time of a big catastrophe, but we're in a time of fear and thinking, and the market isn't crashing fast enough so people are able to think and process. And this is incredible time for people to think about Bitcoin once again. So these are the best two environments for Bitcoin: a bullish economic environment and a fearful one. But a panic in the markets is a bad environment for Bitcoin.
Would you add central bank digital currencies in that fear factor?
Yes, because the only people that are pushing, the only private people that are pushing for a central bank digital currency are the people that are going to get free digital currency. So these are your unemployed people that the government will say, hey, we'll give you your unemployment check, but only in the form of a central bank digital currency, and you have to use it, and it has to stay in the central bank digital currency so we can control what you're spending. Now, if you're on unemployment or you're on other forms of welfare, or they're going to say, hey, we will give you money for Medicare, but you can't pull it out. It has to stay in the central bank, and we can control how you spend it. Yes, free money is better than no money in any kind of form, even if it comes with a million strings attached, like full-blown surveillance and control. Reparation payments is another example, right? People will accept the central bank digital currency in its most controllable form. But when it comes to the private citizen, that he is not going to go for that. He will be scared and he will move that money somewhere else. And the majority of people do not get free money from the government. Same thing with government employees. They can say, hey, if you're going to work for the government, which for some reason takes up more and more percentage of the time, or they can say to a company, right? They can go to Elon Musk and say, hey, we will give you all these subsidies for you to provide every single person with a Tesla, but these subsidies have to be in the form of a central bank digital currency, and you got to keep your capital in the central bank digital currency, right? They're going to give a contract to Elon Musk. Hey, we'll give you $1 trillion in subsidies to Tesla, but but your company, you're going to sign a document that your company will never hold Bitcoin.
Right. No,
Well,
what
sure,
you said,
right?
what you said makes a lot of sense, because DeSantis had come out with this anti-CBDC legislation saying he wanted to ban them on a federal and foreign CBDC level on the state, but if the state's going to accept any sort of funding, and the only way they're going to do that is with a CBDC, then DeSantis will have to cave in and accept it or not accept federal funding.
Correct. I mean, now it depends on how capitalistic Florida is. Now, he may get reelected on the platform. We will not accept federal funding in the form of CBDC, but you have to realize his socialist opponent is going to run on the opposite platform, who would be supported by our current Marxist federal government in the United States. And his opponent will very likely win in taking $1 trillion from the federal government in order to take DeSantis out of play. So this is a very, very tough decision. So yes, a state government can put in legislation against the CBDC, but when the federal government comes to them with free money, we will see what the election people going to the polls say.
Well said. Well said. And it's definitely going to be something to pay attention to. I appreciate your time, man. Do you want to take a moment real quick and talk about your 2 upcoming events that you have going on later this year?
Sure. The one that's sooner is the Financial Summit. No, if you could, you have it up. Great. I was going to show you how to get to it from the website.
Yeah.
So the Financial Summit is an event that's more focused on trading and investing. It is an event for high net worth individuals. We focus on full-time traders, money managers, whether you're in a hedge fund or in a family office. We focus on other industries like financial services, even the mining sector. If you're a miner, you need to understand the futures markets and how to hedge your incoming mined Bitcoin. If you're a potential investor, you want to know more about the mining industry because it's new. So we focus on that kind of crowd. It's a 5-day financial retreat in a pretty secluded place. It does cost $9,000 to attend, but a $1,000 a night room is included. Food is included, drinks are included, everything's included except the flight. If you were to take a vacation, it would cost you about the same amount of money, but you're spending it with about 50 people that are financially minded, and we spend 5 days discussing how to make more money in the years to come. And at night, do lots of fun stuff. And check out the videos. We have a YouTube channel, Instagram, the works. And the other conference
is this is in Dubai. This one's in Dubai, right? The next one is in Dubai.
This one moves around the world. The last one was in Bali, and the one before that was in a castle in the Dominican Republic. Okay. Absolutely awesome. You can see the videos on our YouTube channel, Financial Summit YouTube channel. Sure. And the Bitcoin event, it's a Bitcoin not blockchain conference with a poker tournament in Las Vegas, taking place December 7 and 8. poker tournament on December 6th. We also have a fun evening event called the Scammy Awards, where we give out, best new scammer of the year. It's going to be a hard one. It's going to be lots of competition. Sam Bankman-Fried, Alex Mashinsky, Dao Kwan. It's going to be
the list goes on and on. I mean, last year, yeah, you definitely have your work put in for you for the nominees from 2022.
Yeah, and the 2022 event was early in the year, and this one, 2023 event, is late in the year. So we actually have 2 years worth of nominees this time. So we're gonna have some awesome events. We have cool speakers. It's a great event. It's absolutely a great event. It's small. Our max capacity is 400 people. It's one of the smaller known events in the Bitcoin world. So it's great. You really get to speak to the speakers because they're very accessible.
So if people go to tonevays.com, and this is linked in the video description, you hit on conferences, you can click on each one of the individual conferences there, different products and services that are available, affiliate information if you want to support Tone, learn about trading, and make sure you're following his YouTube channel, multiple YouTube channels, but this is his main YouTube channel. And also make sure you're following on Twitter, man. Really appreciate your time, man. I really appreciate you doing this. If you want to, I know you got stuff going on. I can finish up the live stream and get in touch with you, man. But I do appreciate you taking time to join today, man. It was definitely worth the wait, and I appreciate you doing it, man. I'm looking forward to having more, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and opinion.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, man.
You going to be in Miami for Bitcoin 23?
I don't think so. I've never been a speaker at that conference in Miami. It's so overwhelming, and I live in Miami most of the time. Well, I split my time between Miami, Panama, and sometimes in New York. It's so overwhelming. It's really big. I'm not a speaker. I always wanted to see Japan. There was a Web3 conference in Japan that wanted me to speak. Again, multiple reasons. I want to see Japan. The conference happened to conflict, and they'll probably cover my hotel over there. So it's very likely I'm going to be in Japan. Okay. And I don't know. I've been to that Miami conference the last couple of times.
No, we always see each other.
I found it stressful and overwhelming personally.
I totally feel you on that. I've limited how many conferences I'm going to, but I was making plans to go to this one, so I was going to see if you're going to be there so we can connect. But we'll see each other, I'm sure, because I mean, since 2018, I've seen you numerous times. So I will be back in Miami and visiting all different parts around the world. So maybe in your digital nomad traveling, some point we'll collide. We'll see. But awesome. Thanks again, man. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Later.
Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to tune in for today's live stream. Something I do want to let people know, and I'm going to go ahead and get something pulled up on the back end here, is there is a conference going on, a virtual conference that will be taking place tomorrow and Wednesday, the 18th and 19th of April, the Crypto Mindset Reset. I did a video last night with Crypto Blood that you guys can check out. If you did not watch that, we streamed on both of our YouTube channels, and we had Mike, Life Size Box. He's one of the founders from Crypto Mindset Reset. I was a part of the first, and Blood, we were both part of the first virtual summit. So I encourage you to make sure you check that out. I want to go ahead and get a screen share going on. So this is cryptomindsetreset.com. You can get tickets on there. It's a free event, and I will also be live streaming it on my Rumble channel. So over on Rice TVX Rumble, I will be live streaming the full day 1 and day 2. You can watch for free. I should be a part of both days opening ceremony events to kick off the event. And I'm going to be a part of day 1 and day 2. Just not sure exactly what times and what I'm going to be a part of at this moment. I'll be finding that out later this afternoon. I think on day 1, I'm going to be doing something with Jason from Komodo and Croetic from Cordal. So I'm looking forward to that. Not sure about day 2, but there will be a schedule, I believe, posted tomorrow morning or even today, potentially later on Crypto Mindset Reset for the events that will be taking place on those 2 days. So it is tomorrow and Wednesday. It's absolutely free. Visit cryptomindsetreset.com and get the information. And then you can follow me over on my Rumble channel, which you can find at rumble.com/c/RiceTVX. I'll go ahead and drop that into the live chat. and you can watch the event there tomorrow. But I encourage you to sign up for a ticket so you can get signed up for the mailing list so that you can be updated on future events. If you're going to be in Las Vegas, Mike holds all kinds of meetups out in the Las Vegas area, so I would encourage you guys to check that out. Something else that I want to let people know is I am doing a fundraiser. I've got 10 more spots left. I'm building a private website that I'm going to be replacing my Patreon channel with, and there are 10 spots left. To go ahead and go over that information real quick, and then we'll wrap up today's video. Let me make sure I got this saved correctly on the screen. All right. So if you want to get lifetime access to my private website, it's being built. I'm aiming to have this thing done in the next 2 weeks. I'm trying to finalize on a web developer today or tomorrow, so I will keep all the private members updated. I was offering 50 people lifetime access, plus I have a special swag bag of Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain swag. I've got some stickers. I've got a pen. I've got these wooden nickels, which have the Rice Against the Grain and Rice TVX logo. If you see me in Bitcoin Miami, I will be passing these out for promotional purposes. They have my website information. So instead of having a business card, that is the only thing that has more than 100 of the print run on these items. Otherwise, what I have printed up is very limited edition. So you'll get lifetime access plus the special swag bag of Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain swag. And I'm getting ready to show you these kick-ass patches. $100 gets you that lifetime access. You can email ricemediagroup@protonmail.com and put lifetime in the subject line. I have my PayPal and Cash App information if you want to go ahead and send that $100. And if you do so, make sure you email me at ricemediagroup@protonmail.com and confirm so I can get you added to the list. I'm emailing the links to the videos that I put on Patreon until the website is built. Once the website is complete, I'll probably give a 60 to 90-day notice about terminating my Patreon channel. So you see the information on screen. This is the Rice TVX patch. It's a little less than a 2x2 size, and the blue actually glows in the dark. It's got a Velcro backing, so it can stick to different things. And then I have a Rice Against the Grain. So both Rice TVX and Rice Against the Grain. The Rice Against the Grain does not glow in the dark, but the Rice TVX one does. In fact, I made a video of me filming this in the dark. So this is actually how bright it is. I just dropped my phone this morning so you can see that chip. This is my extra phone, but that is how bright the glow in the dark is. Little video. It's pretty wicked. So that will be included for the 50 lifetime members. I only have 100 made of each one of these. So I'll have 50 left. I'm going to keep some and I'll figure out what to do with the rest. But private members come first. So again, you'll get that swag bag, plus you get lifetime access to the website that's being built. In the meantime, I'll send you links directly for early access to interviews that I'll be doing, in addition to exclusive content. I've been trying to do more exclusive content that you're not going to get publicly in any fashion, so that you can get something extra from supporting my work. So consider becoming a lifetime member. I do appreciate you guys tuning in for today's video. Once again, David Brumbelow, it's good to see you in the house. Gary's Guzzler, B. Chad, Identity Block, Bitcoin Shooter, Mohit Goyal. Hopefully I said that correctly. Edward Sosa, thanks for tuning in. Mind Your Biz, it's always fun seeing you. I hope you enjoyed seeing Ming the Merciless, a.k.a. Tone Vays. I told him he was going for Anton LaVey meets Ming the Merciless kind of look. If you're not familiar with who Anton LaVey is, you can look him up. But I appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in for today's live stream. If you haven't smashed that like button, please take time to do so. Crypto Factor, thanks again for tuning in, my friend. Gulag, Mike Rowan, Ellie. I want to say Fuchs. Thanks for tuning in. Bernard Macarius. Hopefully I said that correctly. Mr. X Les Cherion. Real Digital Soldier. Bitcoin Trenny. My homie, my brother from another mother, Mr. Bodhisattva Love. Good seeing you in the house, Stan. Henry Bob Schwillikers. I know it's not Schwillikers, but I want to say Schwilliker instead of Swilliker, but good seeing you, Henry Bob. Justin Trudeau, as always, thanks for tuning in. Tone, thank you for your time. Appreciate everybody for joining me on today's live stream. Again, tomorrow, Crypto Mindset Reset. I will not be putting a video out tomorrow, but I should have a new video coming out Wednesday. Next week, I have, in the next 2 weeks, I have an interview coming up, my third interview with G. Edward Griffin. That's right, the author of Creature from Jekyll Island. He'll be back on for the third time. Almost 92 years old. I'm blessed to have opportunities to be able to speak with him. I got Gareth Soloway also coming up at the beginning of the month. That will be live. The G. Edward Griffin interview, people who are private members and patrons will get early access to that before it is released publicly. So consider joining my lifetime membership, or you can even become a patron and pay month by month until that website is complete. I'm going to be at least having the Patreon up for 60 to 90 days once the website is complete. And I'm still looking for a couple weeks out for that website to be complete. So you're still looking at 2 to 3 months before I end my Patreon if you would just like to join on a monthly basis. If you can't afford to do the $100 lifetime membership, then I'm only offering to 50 people. I'm not offering that beyond this point with any plans. It'll be a monthly membership. I'm not sure if we're going to do annual or not, but I'll have all that figured out and I'll be explaining people. I'll be operating a lot more in the privately. So if you are a fan of the Stranger Than Fiction content, you're going to find a lot more private stuff happening on the private side. And also, if you are a fan of the Stranger Than Fiction content, the stuff where I go down the rabbit holes of the legal fiction, the law studies, the hidden and alternative history, spirituality, the conspiracies, the fringe topics, you can find that on my new channel, my sister channel, Rice Against the Grain. Links are down below in the video description. Again, I thank you for tuning in for today's video. Check out Crypto Mindset Reset tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll have a new video back out on Rice TVX on Wednesday. And I have some other videos coming out on Rice Against the Grain coming up very soon. So once again, make sure you subscribe to both channels. Smash that like button if you have not. I will leave you with this. I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in the matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And until next time, fam, practice change.